Come up on 7:15 on a Monday morning. Cloudy conditions. The rain's over to the east. Mike's here from Mid Mechanic. What's going on?
Oh, nothing. Got my boat tied up out front. Man, it rained all night, didn't it?
Didn't it? Yeah.
Yep. The way our air conditioner sets at the house, you'll hear the water running off the roof and landing on that unit.
Bing, bing, bing.
And
bing,
it rained all night long, I believe, because I woke up about 2 o'clock and it was still, you could hear the water hitting it. And that's okay. We was getting a little bit dry. So when the sun pops out tomorrow, there's going to be a bunch of lawnmowers running.
Don't you know it? Don't you know
Yeah,
it?
mine included.
Hey, 2 weeks away from Memorial Day.
Isn't that right? Isn't it 2 weeks from today?
Well, yeah. It'd have to be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, you get a holiday. You've been looking forward to this since January 1st.
That's why I brought it up. I'm tired of hearing that stuff. No, yeah, Memorial Day is one of historically for us is one of our busiest holidays because it's been a long, cold winter for everybody. The kids are about to get out of school. If they're not out of school, a lot of people plan on hitting the road, traveling places. So they want their cars, the maintenance and all, kept up on their cars so they can travel. And I always tell people before major holidays, if there's something you've got in mind, if you're needing a front end alignment, if you're needing brakes, transmission service, whatever it is, give us a shout. Maybe plan ahead just a crumb, because it gets terribly, terribly busy for us. Next week is going to be flat out all week long. I mean, from Monday through Friday, I can imagine we're going to be busy 8 to 5 every day, just as hard as we can go. This week may not be quite so bad, so if there's something that you've got in mind, give me a call. Maybe we can slide it in there this week and get it done for you. And it'll save you maybe a scheduling problem whenever we're having a hard time fitting you in or something. But it would make it a little bit easier if we could do that, and also give you a little bit of a cushion on your time.
There you go.
Leave it to where next week, the week after, you can be getting ready for your trip instead of worrying about coming to Minute Mechanic, right?
Mm-hmm. So true.
But
peace of mind.
Yeah, peace of mind for the road. We've been very busy, and that maybe some of it too is people are getting around a little bit early for their Memorial Day travels, because the last couple of weeks or so have been really, really busy at the shop.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Very good.
We have a caller's question. Started to roll down my left front window, and it made a bad noise and stopped. I got it to go up, but what now?
Most likely they have got an issue in a window regulator, maybe in the motor. Most likely it's in the regulator. And the regulator is kind of a fancy word for the framework that goes in there that keeps your window square as it rolls up and runs up and down in your door. And, a lot of the cars now, there's cables and there's little nylon pieces that are guides that make for the cables to run in, and they break.
Yep.
And we see that a lot on GM products. My wife had
I thought Chrysler was more prone to GM.
Of course there's probably more GM cars on the road, but we do a lot of GM windows. Right. My wife had a 2001 or 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix, and I did the driver's window on it twice.
Really?
Yeah. It's just kind of the nature of the beast, and it was those plastic pieces will get worn out and they'll break, and when they break, the cables ball up, and it's just a mess. Sometimes
so what you gonna fix? Quit going through all the drive-through windows, right?
Yeah.
Go in and eat.
You got to quit those. You've got to stay away from the drive-ups. But
unless it's a withdrawal from the bank.
And we see that stuff a lot on these vehicles. And for the most part, these power windows and all are pretty darn reliable, But after a while, they will get fatigued and they're going to have some issues. It's not quite as simple as it was back in the days of crank-up windows, The biggest thing usually you had to do on that was maybe every once in a while you might have to put a little bit of grease on that thing where it would slide. Or
Yep.
My dad, what was that truck? Was it seemed like it was a Ford truck that had a plastic in where the window crank attached, and it would strip every once in a while.
Yeah.
You
get them for about $3 downtown. Take that door panel off, all the stuff, put that little gear there.
It was pretty simple stuff. Of course, when you get into one of these like this question here, maybe it's the regulator and motor. Of course, the inside door panel's got to come off, and it turns into a pretty good job. You need to plan on somewhere between 1 and 2 hours to replace all that. And
I hate taking door panels off.
Boy, those door panels are they're something. They all are. Everyone are different.
Yeah.
And some of them have 500 little push-in fasteners on the back.
And 499 fall off when you try to put it back together.
Yeah. And then some of them, some of the Ford trucks are pretty easy. There'll be 2 or 3 screws in them.
Yeah.
And then the way the back of the door is made, you just lift up on the panel and it slides up off of some attachments.
Yeah.
And that's it. I mean, they're pretty easy. And then there's
It's like
other.
an L-tab guide. Yeah.
Yep.
Studebaker did the same thing. I mean, Studebaker, 4 screws, you lift them off and fix them, put it back on. But
Yeah.
my goodness, some of my Chrysler products, stick a dynamite, blow that sucker off. Yeah.
Yeah, they're not all going to be that easy. But anyway, you need to allow for 1 or 2 hours to do that. And unfortunately, some of these windows and motors and regulators can get pretty darn pricey. Some of them are relatively cheap. But, boy, every once in a while you'll call up to check on one.
Be over $100.
I swear to God, you just said $200, And they're fairly pricey. And
Well, and that brings up something I want to talk about. A couple years ago, I was in Fayetteville having a bearing pressed on for my boy's car. He had already bought the bearing, and we found a shop that could press it on, and so we went back to pick up the hub assembly, and I pulled out my card to pay for it, and he said, "What are you doing? It's paying for it." He said, "Well, Dad, I bought the bearing." And I said, "Well, there's labor." Well, what do you mean? And so the guy said, "That'd be $43.80." And man, I could press that bearing on for $43, but I couldn't get my hand in my wallet fast enough.
Right,
That's a good
right.
price, I thought, And he said, $43. I said, "Great, you got to pay for the labor."
yeah.
And so think about it. You get paid for the work you do. So don't be shocked when somebody says, "Well, that's going to be, this amount of labor," because some of the flag times and what we in the price guide or the labor guides could be 3.5, 4 hours.
Yeah, that's the way the old world turns, isn't it? Everybody's got to get paid, and when you walk into any business, it doesn't necessarily have to be a auto repair shop. It can be a furniture store or a boat sales place. There's a lot of overhead there,
There is.
and you're paying employees, and you're paying insurance, and you're paying your normal bills at the shop. All your utility bills, and then. At the end of the month, they want you to mail in a bunch of taxes. So you've got to, all that costs money. And it is an amazing, it's an amazing amount of money that comes in the door and goes out the door just as fast at most businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And
for the consumer, though, they can say, "Well, what's the allotted flag time or the allotted time on that labor?"
right.
And you can check it and get on the internet and check it.
And
I've seen some alternators that were 3.5 hours.
well, exactly, and it makes sense sometimes. I run into an occasional incident or instance where you'll quote some labor to somebody for, let's just use an alternator for an example, and they'll go, "Oh my goodness, to change an alternator," and I'll say, "Well, come out here, let me show you what we got," and I'll walk them out there, and we'll have the hood up on their car, and you show them this alternator
down there.
And if you can't even see it on some cars, well, we got to take this power steering pump off, and this has got to be moved, and that's got to be moved, and this cooling fan's got to come out to be able to get to your alternator. And then it makes sense to them. Mm-hmm. Because maybe the last alternator they looked at was on a 1990 model Chevrolet, and it took 15 minutes to change.
It's right there. Yeah.
And now we're driving a 2011 something with the alternator buried up. Or other parts, it's just not,
Sure.
We're just using an alternator for an example. It could be an AC compressor. It could be a lot of things, a blower motor.
Yeah.
And anytime you bring a car in like that, and if you've got questions, if I'm the one you're dealing with, and I will be up at Minute Mechanic, but if you've got questions, don't be afraid to ask about labor prices and things like that, because I'll do my very best to make it clear for you. And if you want to see what we're talking about, we'll walk out in the shop and show you exactly what's entailed in repairing what's going on with your vehicle. Mm-hmm. Some of these repairs are dead simple. They take a few minutes, and sometimes make you want to pull your hair out, and choke the life out of the engineer that designed it that way. Right?
Yeah, right. But then people come by and say, "Can you check my tires, my brake lights, my headlight?" That takes time, but yet you don't charge.
No, we don't. We do it multiple times every week where people come in. "Hey, I'm fixing to go to Springfield. Got a doctor's appointment. Want to go shopping. Want to do something, and I haven't had anything checked on my car in 2 months." Well, give me your keys, and I pull it in there. We do tires. We check their filters, their fluids, and make sure their car looks to be good, and send them on their way. We don't charge people for doing that. And yes, it takes some time, and if you know,
But that builds good public relations because you've got that trust, and that's a big thing I'm hearing nowadays from here to Mountain View to Melbourne and back over to Salem, that Minute Mechanic has built the trust of its customers.
we work very, very hard, trying to make our customers happy. We try everything we can to do it, and I think we're very successful. And again, that's just part of it. We appreciate every customer we have. And if they need their tires checked or a trip checked before they leave out to go on a trip somewhere, we'll do it, and it's not going to cost them anything. We also check their vehicles if they're looking to buy one. We did that the other day. Had a customer bring in a pickup truck he was looking to buy, and we put it up on the list.
You got a phone call from me too.
Yeah, I got a call from you, and we checked vehicles, and we try to be as accommodating to everybody as we can, and it's. We try very hard at it. Some days I may be more successful than others, but every day we're trying.
And I've had about 4 different people drive my vehicle now since Tony realigned it. And they said, how do you get it so quiet and smooth? I said, Tony Slater, Mechanic, and the Hunter alignment machine.
Well, now the Hunter alignment machine played a part. Now it's all those pieces and parts you put on there too. You put new wheel bearings and you put new quick struts on there. And then Tony did the alignment on it. And that's another thing that will catch a person off guard is you buy a car new and you drive it off the lot and you're driving it home. Boy, you feel so good about how quiet it is and how smooth it is and drive straight down the road. Well, 100,000 miles later, and it happens so gradually, many times it does it without our noticing. It doesn't drive so straight anymore. It's not as quiet. It's not as smooth. Well, when you replace those bearings and those struts, you took some wear items out of your vehicle and put new in. And all of a sudden it's smooth and quiet, and then Tony fixed the driving straight part of it for you. You're thinking you're driving a Cadillac again, aren't you?
At 154,000 miles.
Yeah. It is. So, it's just vehicle maintenance and repair that we all have to do.
And when it comes down to motor oil and filters, that's probably one of, and I'm a maintenance guru. I've already bought the oil and filter for my next oil change, and I'm 900 miles away from needing it. But I may be going to Nashville on the first weekend in June, and I want to make sure when I hit I-40 that I've got nice, clean, fresh oil in that crankcase and not
absolutely
sludge.
We got the stuff up there to do it. We service about everything under the sun. We have had an influx of European vehicles lately. We had a Volkswagen Jetta diesels last week. Remember?
Yeah.
I think I was telling you on the last show last Monday we had a couple of Range Rovers in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we did brakes on a Range Rover and oil change on another. We had a couple of Volkswagen Jetta diesels in last week. Just regular VWs, gas engines. And yes, we've got stuff there to do it with. If we don't, we'll have it in just a few minutes. We sure will. We service Volvos. We service some Mercedes, BMW.
And you can get filters and parts for all that. Yeah.
Yep. There's getting to be the parts availability as far as that goes is pretty darn good.
And no cheap oil. Let me back up. Your house brand is Pennzoil.
Yes. And
top quality.
I really can't stress enough how good Pennzoil. I cannot tell you how many 100,000 gallons of Pennzoil we have put in cars up there since 1984.
Oh, boy.
And there's no issues. And I'm not going to say you couldn't do that with Valvoline because you probably could. I still say if you pick you a name brand oil and change it regularly, it's all fine. But, our house brand oil is Pennzoil. It's not a generic. It's not a white label, no name oil that you find at some places. We sell Pennzoil. And I don't think you will find a better lubricant for your engine, petroleum lubricant out there. It is very good oil.
Yeah.
Again, since 1984, we've pumped
millions of gallons.
No, many thousands and thousands of gallons of that stuff.
I never thought of that. 31 years.
Yeah, and it works like a top.
It does.
We don't have issues with it. We put it in so many different styles of vehicles, from heavy-duty pickup trucks all the way down to Chevy Sonics, little four-cylinder.
Really? Wow.
And it works good in every one of them.
Minute Mechanic is located on Highway 201 North, as Mike was saying at the inset. make your plans now for your Memorial Day maintenance. Memorial Day 2 weeks from now, and of course they'll be closed on that Monday. So let's plan ahead. Give Mike a call, 425-3135, especially live outside the Mountain Home area, perhaps down around Melbourne, Mountain View, want to come in. Give him a call today, 425-3135. We're on Highway 201 North across from Salvation Army. Time for the news. Be right back.